Good morning. This is Kathy for Getting Chatty with Kathy, and I want to thank you all for listening today. I have a wonderful guest. This is her third time on the show.
Third time, yeah.
And I think that's the most. You're my number one fan.
Third time's a charm.
You're right. I got the lovely Patricia Meier here, and she is from Sparks of Healing. And you guys, guess what? I had a hypnosis session with Patricia, so I can now talk from an experience versus just, hearing about it, which I think is so fun. So I really want to thank you for that.
Oh, it's my pleasure. Thank you for trusting me with your journey.
It's quite an experience. And I have to say, you kind of before going, you think about it a little, and there's some prep, and I'm not really great at prep. And I was just I didn't know what to expect. I probably should have prepped. But then once I got there, I have never felt more relaxed in somebody's house in my life.
Aw, that's very sweet. I think that was your first time in my place.
Yeah. It's a good vibe.
Yeah, thanks.
It's a home.
Yes, it is literally in my home.
Well, and I love because I have a home business too. And it takes over my house in certain ways. But I love how you've created a space for you doing your sessions, and then they don't have to see the rest of it.
No, my dishes can be piled up and you would never know.
Very smart thinking. I love your house, and I love that you welcome people in there on their and have those experiences there. It feels like a really nice place.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So for those of you that haven't had a conversation with Patricia and I before, how about you just kind of give us a brief, what Sparks of Healing is all about?
Awesome. Well, as you said, I'm Patricia Meier, and some of you might know me as Patty, and my business is Sparks of Healing. I am a certified certified counseling hypnotist, as well as a Reiki master, a sound healer, channel, an author, an artist. I do a lot of stuff. And our focus today is actually on the type of hypnosis that's called regression hypnosis. And the journey that you went on last week, Kathy, is called interlife hypnosis. So interlife is that place between lives where our souls go when we are not incarnate here having human experiences as spiritual beings. So that's the journey we took you on. I took you on last week.
It was quite an experience because I don't want to say that I'm not a believer or anything like that. Maybe I'm just a pessimistic person. I don't know what it is. Or maybe I'm one of those people that were raised through the tell us the experiment, and then give us the data and that sort of stuff. So before doing it, I kind of didn't really understand how I could feel it. So from somebody that my perspective, first timer, when I was at her place, I was nervous to tell you the truth at first, just because it's oh God, is she going to hypnotize me and I'm going to tell you all my dark secrets or
make you cluck like a chicken,
get around to weird things. So I didn't know what was going to happen. So yeah, but then it really was a step to relax and go a little bit turn off that brain of yours and just not overthink. And I remember just feeling this really big sense of relaxation. And then I know when I'm meditating,
mm-hmm.
A thought will go through your head and you just are supposed to let that thought go. And
right.
then I've never really focused on what that thought was. And I've tried to not.
Mm-hmm.
So it was interesting because from what I thought the experience was, it was kind of like that, but let's talk about what you're seeing. And once I was hypnotized, that is.
Mm-hmm. So, yeah, when I start out with you, I like to say that I'm your hypnotic tour guide, taking you to the places that you need to go to do the work you need to do.
Well, and she has the best voice for it on earth, too. I forgot to say that. It was just the way you say it. Just talking, it's hypnotizing.
Thanks. Thank you. And yes, we ask you to basically park your conscious mind on a seat in the corner where it can be curious. And you're really good at being curious, Kathy. So we ask that your conscious mind just take a seat to the side and not interfere with what's coming out. And it was funny, during your journey, there were a couple times where I could see on your face that you were sort of monitoring what you were going to say. And I said, just speak. There's nothing too weird for this room. So
it's true, because like I was having thoughts about like past lives where like I've never really thought, and I just like felt like things coming into my head. It was weird, like how it did that, you know? And you're right. You were like, don't, like, because I was like, oh, I don't want to like tell somebody that I'm in Egypt. Like, like it was just like a little bit outside of my, why am I thinking that? But you're like, lean into that and like see where it goes.
Yeah, you just follow your thoughts, and some people, there's different ways that people can have this experience. So what we say is, tell me what you see, sense, feel, or know. Because not everybody's visual. So not everybody's going to go to Egypt and see the Sphinx or the pyramids. They might just feel, or they might sort of hear music or sounds, or just know. So for me, I'm more of a knowing person. And so what that means, it's like I've had the experience and now I'm having the memory, but I didn't have the experience there, if that makes sense. So it's like, I know I've been there. And I know what I've seen. And that can happen just in day-to-day life.
Like deja vu kind of stuff?
Sort of like deja vu. I can give you an example. One time I was at a graduation ceremony, and there was a gentleman on, it was pretty casual. It was a SIAST or SAS Polytech thing. And there was a speaker on the stage, and he was talking about stuff. And he said, you know, that scientist that discovered back in the day. And I said, Copernicus? And he goes, yeah.
How did you think of that?
Right. That's what my partner said. He goes, how did you know that? And I said, I have no idea.
I've
never studied Copernicus. I don't know where that came from. So that's what a knowing is, where you know what you know, but you have no idea how you know it. And it's right. Like, it's mostly always right. And it's like a thought that is not your thought. Like, it's not just you thinking it. Yeah. So does that sort of explain how you were feeling?
Totally, because I didn't know where the heck it was coming from. Yeah. It was interesting.
Yeah.
And also, like, one of the things that I think I'm most grateful for in that session was you were like, okay, well, I'm going to take you to a spot where you could talk to anybody, like, present. And, like, I'm a daddy's girl. I miss my dad like every day still. And it's been like a decade. So as soon as you said that, I was like, Dad. But you know what? It was like, I didn't even have to visualize it. I felt it. I get what you're saying on that regard, because there was this sense of just being like, okay, I know what he would be saying or whatever. You know what I mean? And it did leave me feeling better. And I recall before, you're like, why does it matter if it's real, if it's not real, or whatever, if it makes you just feel better? And when I woke up the next day, I had like it was almost like, just felt like concluded almost. Like it was like tied up, like it felt okay.
Right. So you had a completion.
And what a gift that is.
Right. And that I didn't tell you about in advance because I didn't want to influence your experience.
I had no idea that was going to happen at all. Just waterworks, though. I couldn't help it.
Yeah, where you sit down in my room, you're in this lovely recliner with a fuzzy blankie, and there's box Kleenex on one side and a trash bin on the other, because tears happen, and that's okay.
Totally.
You know, emotion has information. Emotion releases things that we need to release. Sometimes it's self-forgiveness. Sometimes, you know, it's releasing trauma, and even science has proved that crying tears changes the biochemistry of the brain. So I encourage, you know, don't hold back. Whatever comes, and just let it, just have the experience.
It was very cool. And I really, really, really think that for somebody who's just kind of like, you know, trying to figure out this journey of self, you know what I mean? It's definitely a really cool tool to have in your tool belt.
Yeah.
So why don't we talk about your shirt right now? Because I'm thinking this could be like a definite thing. So her shirt, it has a horse or donkey. It's looking something.
It's a donkey.
And it says hypnosis before and the donkey, who's looking a little silly. And then we have after, and it's a beautiful unicorn. Strong and powerful. So really, like, hypnosis is a substantial tool, I'm sure, for many people.
Yeah. So with there's three parts of the mind, as you may, I know you know because we've talked about it before, but your listeners may not.
Give it.
So there's the conscious part of the mind, and that's the part that decided to wear that beautiful polka dot dress that you're wearing today, and that decided to come and have a hypnosis session. There's your subconscious mind, which is kind of like CCTV. It is recording absolutely every experience that you have in your waking hours, in your dreams. It records the books you read and the movies you watch and the podcasts you listen to as if they are all happening in the now and they're all real. And your conscious mind decides what emotions are attached to those experiences and what's real and what's not. And then your superconscious mind, or your soul mind, if you will, it has an even bigger view of your life and your lives since the inception of your soul, way back in the Big Bang, if you will. And so what happens in a hypnosis session, whether it's a regular hypnosis session or whether it's a regression session, is I'm working with your superconscious mind, and we're going into the places in your subconscious mind to bring up the information that you need, release trauma, release habits, identities, beliefs, and any kinds of issues that you have without the interference of the conscious mind. So that's why
it's kind of like reprogramming a little in the back end. It
absolutely is. It absolutely is. And I even say that in your session. It's like the superconscious mind understands the supercomputer, the superconscious mind understands the supercomputer that is your subconscious mind and knows where all the corrupted files are.
Yeah.
And it knows what needs updating.
So what corrupted files do you generally work with?
Well, when we're talking about regression sessions, oftentimes people might have an obsession, say, with Egypt. And so they want to understand, why am I obsessed with Egypt? Or why am I afraid of water? Or why do I have this scar on my body? I had a client yesterday who showed me a mark on her body, and she had a past life regression as a gunslinger in the wild, wild west.
Shush.
And no, she has the mark where the bullet went in. And it's just kind of
cool.
like it's not a raised scar, but it's a definite, mark. So that different people want to explore different things, and sometimes they want to explore connections with their spouse or a best friend or family member, and you can explore all of those things in a regression session.
That's so interesting.
And then there's all the run of the mill stuff: stop smoking, lose weight, anxiety, agoraphobia, not wanting to be around people, all kinds of things, depression.
So you go in there and you fix those little files in that super subconscious mind, and then people are then maybe more at ease because that conscious mind is allowing it to happen.
Right. And the other thing is that in every session that you have with me, whether it's regression or whether it's regular, I do teach and give you the programming for self-hypnosis. So then you can go on your own, work with your superconscious mind, and go back to those states outside of the chair with me.
That's pretty cool. It's kind of like doing your own hypnosis.
Exactly.
So where do you see yourself with Sparks of Healing in the future?
Where do I see myself? I just, honestly, Kathy, my goal is to help people love themselves. And really, that starts with self-forgiveness, self-acceptance, and self-compassion. And when we do hypnosis or any work that I do, I really encourage people to forgive themselves. When I was a little girl, we went to church when I was a little girl, and I remember listening to the minister talk about, the afterlife and, how you'd be judged. And I think I was about 10 or 12, and I thought, that's not how it works. And what I saw in my mind is that you would stand in front of this gazing pond or this gazing pool, this really pure pool of water. And, Jesus would stand on one side of you and your guide would stand on the other. And you would see all the good that you put out into the world like a pebble in the center of that pond and all the waves, and you would feel all the good you put out into the world. then you would feel all the not so great choices, the meanie days that you have, and you would feel all of that, and you judge your life.
Interesting.
And they're there to support you, and it's funny because I remember thinking that when I was really young. And then now when I read some of the really great writers and the really strong spiritual people of the time, like Dolores Cannon, and they believe that too. And so I think, why wait? Why wait till then to forgive yourself? Forgive yourself now. And I think it was Maya Angelou that said, you did then what you knew what to do, and now you know better, so you'll do better. So, let's work on self-forgiveness and self-love, which is not narcissistic. Loving yourself and honoring yourself is important. And the more you love yourself, the less you're walking around the world with this big black hole inside of you that can never be filled with enough cars and toys and jewelry and clothes and food and alcohol and drugs, because it's full of love. And
you're
then
not looking for anything.
No,
more.
And then you spill out to everyone else.
That's what you're good at. Oh my gosh, Patricia. I feel like you're talking to me right now. Like you would live. I have a hard time with the forgiveness. Like, we've talked about this before, and I'm open about, I have to work on self-forgiveness, because there are things in my past that, I feel like I could have changed or done differently or whatever. And it is something that sits with me. And I love the fact that you learn what you learn, and you have to just grow from it and forgive yourself and move on. And we don't have a lot of time on this planet. So I really try and enjoy each moment, because I genuinely want to fit it all in. And if I'm sitting around feeling bad about it, you're not going to get anything done.
No, and you can't change the past. You can't even change the past in hypnosis. And that's not what we're doing. We know the past happened. You had that experience, but we can take away the emotional charge. We can do the self-forgiveness and acceptance and have that as a lesson and experience, totally. And then move on and do something different next time.
Well, and what you also had said to me, and maybe I didn't hear it correctly, I don't know, but correct me if I'm wrong. There's something about, when you forgive, it helps 7 generations.
That's right.
You said both ways.
Right. So when you're doing this work, we call it ancient wounds. Sometimes it's specifically the mother wound. And when we do the work to heal these ancient wounds, we're not just healing it for ourselves. We're healing it for our children and our grandchildren and so on, 7 generations forward and 7 generations backwards. I had my own interlife regression one time, because I write a blog on Substack called My Weird and Wonderful Life, and I do all this work with clients, and I hold classes, and sometimes I see a person once and I never see them again. So I don't actually know if I'm making a difference.
Right.
And sometimes I get feedback, and that's fan-freaking-tastic,
She has a wealth of love coming to you, girl. I see your little, Patricia Meier crew is very lovely.
Well, thank you. So one time I did an interlife regression session, and the question that I asked is, am I making a difference? Is all this writing that I'm doing, it's nice to have likes, but really likes are nothing. I don't even know if you read the whole thing, if you're just my friend and you liked it to be nice, right? I want comments, I want interaction, I want engagement. Then I know. So they took me to this, in the spooky movies, the big cemetery with the big iron post.
Cemetery kind of style.
Right.
Yeah.
And the big iron gate. And behind this gate, there was this amorphous being. And I couldn't even tell if it was male or female. It was just kind of like this cloaked being that sort of faded in and out. Very spooky. And this being was standing in front of this graveyard that was just really run down, unweeded, and it was cloudy and just really dark and dreary. Then way at the back of the graveyard was this little hill. And on this hill, how on a cloudy day, sometimes there's that one ray of light poking through?
So beautiful, yeah.
And I call that a God ray, right?
Totally.
And it was lighting up this little hill. And that little hill had tended lawns and flowers and everything was nice. And this being told me, all these untended graves are souls that are not at rest because of how they lived their lives and because they didn't do the work. And as you, speaking to me, and all your students and other people, because it's not just me, there's many people doing this work, as we on earth now do this ancient wound healing, and we don't carry forward the terrible family traditions of alcoholism or abuse or what have you, we are healing these ancestors. And then he said to me, and if you could just hurry up, I could go and do something else and I wouldn't have to stay here. And that was beautiful. Then they showed me, you know how in Holland those fields of tulips that just go on forever? And they showed me this beautiful field of these wonderful, healthy red tulips. And he said to me, this field are all the hearts that you've cracked open enough for them to feel the light and the love and for them to bloom. And everyone has a field like that. So yes, we are absolutely making a difference, and we are making a difference backwards and forwards, which only makes sense, right? Because if my parents yelled at me and I choose not to yell at my kids, then I'm showing them more love and more patience and more kindness, and then they're not going to pass on that parenting habit to their kids, right?
Exactly.
And the really, really cool thing is that we all share this field of existence, this energetic field. And the more of us that do this work, the more, in the future, people are just not even going to realize that type of existence where you yelled at your kids and threatened them was a possibility, because nobody does that anymore. And that's my rose-colored look at life.
It's like getting to that higher plane of existence where we're like, one with each other, not killing each other and all this other crazy stuff.
Exactly, because there is enough on the planet. We just need to share better,
Yeah.
Yeah.
To say the least.
Yeah.
I love that, and I love where you see things going.
Yeah, absolutely.
Just helping others.
I just want to do more of that, and I honestly don't know what exactly the future holds. I'm getting out more. I'm going to be actually at a psychic fair.
Cool.
At a little place on McCarra Street.
What's it called?
Such and Stuff.
Cool.
Yes, so I'm going to be at Such and Stuff at their Psychic and Healing Fair, June 22nd and 23rd, Saturday, Sunday.
Fun.
And if you want, I'm going to do 4-card readings.
So what does that mean?
That means you're going to get, you can ask one question.
One question.
And, excuse me. And so I will draw 4 cards for the theme of what's going on, the problem, overcoming the problem, and then the possible outcome. So, yeah, and if you want that, you can go to my site at sparksofhealing.ca and you can pre-book a spot.
Smart.
Yeah, or half of the spots are pre-booked and half are when you walk in.
Oh, that's wonderful. So you're not going to just show up and all your favorite people are all booked and you're like, oh, I can't even see the person I'm here for.
Yeah, Leanne at Such and Stuff, she's like, no, there's no pre-booking everything, because there's nothing worse, there's that big psychic fair that happens in the center of Regina. And I remember I went to see a specific person and I paid my $5 to get in.
Yeah.
And she had no time. Like no time the whole weekend.
Pre-booked everything.
So frustrating.
No.
Yes, so we don't do that.
Good. So they have the opportunity to see you?
Yeah.
And who else?
Oh, there's lots of people there. I don't know what everybody's doing. I believe there's some Reiki practitioners. I know, and she has a variety of practitioners that are going to be there, and other people doing readings and stuff.
So it's just like a come and go, show up when you want to kind of thing?
And there's no cover charge, so you just walk on, I believe. Ooh, I hope I didn't get that wrong. You just walk in and hang out and see what there is to see, and of course, stop in the front and see all Leanne's like crystals and stuff.
Yeah. She's a cool little shop. I went there for a sound bath actually a while ago, and it was my first time going there, and I had no idea that even existed in Regina. And I was like, holy man, like it's a substantial space and huge room to do the sound bath. It was really cool.
Yeah, she rents it out for all sorts of events. Yeah.
Well, you guys, if you're not doing anything June 22nd to 23rd.
Yeah, I think it's the Saturday, Sunday. So yeah. Yeah, and it'll be fun. You know, it's funny, Kathy, like there are so many cool places in this city who offer sound healing and offer
Knox Med is with Terra Simple.
Yes.
Yeah.
Tribal Vibes Healing Center. They have drumming. They're on Broad
cool.
Street in the Brownstone across from, Value Bilal.
Le Value Village.
Yes, Le Vivier Boutique.
They do it with drums.
Oh, they have drumming circles.
Wow.
And yoga and all sorts of stuff. And yeah, there's so many things in this city that we just don't know about. And some of the bookstores, like in the back room at the warehouse, they have a whole billboard of all these crazy places.
We need to plug them. We need to go there. We need to support those places because that's our culture.
Yeah, and and that's where you meet the people who are on the same path and who can support you through these journeys, right?
I love that.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for shining a light on some of these places. I always enjoy talking to you so much.
Well, thank you for the opportunity, and I'm glad that you went so many weird and wonderful places in your regression.
It was great. So you guys, I really do recommend trying it out if you're on a journey and you want to see, maybe shed some light on some things that are, in that mind of yours.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, thank you everybody for listening, and you take care out there. Bye now.